Today I'm going to show you how to make a jalapeno cheddar focaccia bread. Just a handful of ingredients and it's really simple to make, so let's get to it. So the first thing that I like to do is actually bloom the yeast. This is 225 milliliters, which is about a cup of water. I warmed up in the microwave for about 45 seconds. Looking for it to be 110 degrees Fahrenheit. That's going to really help activate the yeast. So that's 7 grams active dry yeast. One of these packages right here is exactly 7 grams, which is perfect, right? To that, I'm going to add 15 grams of granulated sugar, or that's about a tablespoon's worth. Give it a whisk to combine. So this is going to take about 10-15 minutes or so for that yeast to really bloom. It's going to be, nice and foamy when it's ready, right? I really recommend weighing out your ingredients when you're making focaccia bread. So 2.5 cups of AP flour, or that's going to be 312 grams. Weighing everything out in grams is going to really help you be a lot more accurate and consistent when you're making bread, right? I'm going to save a little bit of this flour just in case I need to add a little bit more if the dough ends up being too hydrated. So temperature and humidity will definitely affect the dough, so I might need to add a little bit more flour to this, but I won't know that until I get there. It's really all done by feel, So right into this, I'm gonna put in 2 teaspoons of kosher salt olive oil. So that's 46 grams, which works out to be about a 1/4 cup. I'm using 1 large jalapeno. However spicy you want this bread is kind of up to you. 75 grams worth of shredded cheddar cheese. We got the flour, we got the salt in here. Whisk it to mix it up. I'm gonna go in with that olive oil. This really only took about 5 minutes for that yeast to foam up like that, so that's definitely good to go. Take a spoon and mix it. That's gonna be a pretty wet dough right there. I'm gonna add like a tablespoon or so flour at a time. Kind of see as I'm stirring it, it has a tendency to barely want to stick to the side of the bowl, which is pretty much what you're looking for. I'm gonna knead it by hand in the bowl for about 30 seconds. This will give me a really good idea of actually how sticky the dough is too. This one really is all about feel. Thinking that's pretty good. So if I knead it, it feels tacky, but it's not like really sticky, you know what I mean? A little bit of flour goes on the work table. We're not gonna knead this for terribly too long, probably like 1 or 2 minutes. That's it. Just using the palm of my hand and just smashing it downwards onto the board. You can see it kind of wanting to stick to the table, but it doesn't leave dough on the table. That's kind of how you know that you have the right consistency. I am gonna go with that. Alright, a little bit of oil goes in a mixing bowl. Say about a tablespoon's worth of that. Don't be shy, use your hands. This dough is actually kind of double in size. And you want to make sure that you have oil up the sides of the bowl. It will have a tendency to stick if you don't oil it. Plop the dough in there, and I like to roll it around. I found out that my mixing bowl, and I have a lid for one of my stock pots, it just fits perfectly. In the wintertime, I'll put it on top of my refrigerator. In the summertime, I'll just leave it on the countertop. Generally takes about 45 minutes to an hour and a half for it to double in size, right?
This is what the dough should look like after about 1 hour to 1 hour and a half. The dough is obviously doubled in size. Now we need to get the dough ready for the cold fermentation process. I get a cast iron skillet, the other half of oil that the recipe calls for. Coat the bottom of that skillet evenly. Carefully place the dough into the skillet, and I like to roll it around in the oil, coating both sides rather evenly. Evenly spread out the dough so that it makes contact on all surfaces of the skillet. Cover it with some tin foil or lid, whatever you have, and that's going to go in the refrigerator for 24 hours. You could even go up to 48 hours if you choose to do so.
Since this is YouTube, I'm going to keep things going. I had this proofing overnight. Literally, I'm just going to take my fingers and poke holes in it, pressing it down so I could feel the bottom of the pan with my fingertips. This cheese is going to go right on top. Keep poking those holes in it, kind of squishing that cheese down more towards the center in some parts. So got this jalapeno, got the stem end off. Really, I just want the flesh of it. So I'm gonna cut around the seeds, cutting around that placenta. And go with a fine dice on this, but if you want to have bigger chunks of jalapeno, just cut it up bigger, right? Literally just sprinkle the jalapeno all the way around. Jalapeno cheddar focaccia bread. Why the hell not? A little bit more olive oil is gonna go right on top of this. Sprinkle the top with a little bit more salt. This is kosher salt, but if you have flaky sea salt, that'll probably work a little bit better. Freshly cracked black pepper. I love black pepper, so I'm gonna put about 10 turns worth black pepper right on top of that. So like cold ferment is really the way to go when you're making this bread. It's definitely a big difference in the flavor. Let this rest on the countertop another 5 to 10 minutes before placing it in the oven. Basically the amount of time that it's gonna take to preheat your oven. Alright, that's on the top rack, 425 degrees, 25 to 30 minutes. I actually do check it at the 20-minute mark just to make sure that it's not starting to get a little too dark, you know what I mean?
This is the color that I'm looking for when I'm making this cheddar jalapeno focaccia bread. It has a nice golden color to it, and it's not burnt. The cheese on the outside of it is nice and crispy, and the smell that it's giving off is just so incredible. The flavor that the cold fermentation process gives this bread is just so incredible. It's almost hard to describe how good it is. Nice, fresh tasting homemade bread, no preservatives, ton of flavor. I love the crispy exterior, and the inside of the bread is nice and soft. Of course, this bread is perfect as is if you want to munch on it like that. I also made a BLT with this bread, and it was quite incredible. You definitely want to give this cheddar jalapeno focaccia bread a try. It will not disappoint.